American Horror Stories Hayden tends to get a lot of hate from the show's fanbase, but here's why it's not entirely deserved. While horror TV shows used to be relatively rare, outside of occasional successes like The X-Files, the 2010s proved to be a turning point. Shows like The Walking Dead and Hannibal proved there was a place for serialized horror tales. American Horror Story debuted in 2011 from co-creators Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk, with the first season dubbed Murder House. Season 1 established the American Horror Story formula of shock twists, sex and bloodshed. Season 2 hit the reset switch, while bringing back actors like Jessica Lange and Evan Peters as new characters, and the show has been running ever since. It's also spawned some spin-offs, including American Crime Story and American Horror Stories, which went back to Season 1 with Rubber, Whoa Man. Murder House is where it all began, and for some, the first series remains the best. American Horror Story, Murder House follows the Harmon family as they move into a new house, following the reveal that husband Ben, Dylan McDermott, had an affair with one of his students. While Ben and his wife Vivian try to mend their marriage, Ben's student Hayden, Kate Mara, reveals she is pregnant with his baby. While Ben promises to be there for her when she has an abortion, he later runs out, leading Hayden to keep the baby. She then moves close to the family and not only wants to continue the affair, but threatens to tell Vivian if Ben doesn't support her and their child. She's soon killed by a previous owner of the murder house, only to come back as a ghost. American Horror Stories Hayden gets too much hate. During a 2020 chat with Collider, Kate Mara revealed she had never been asked to return for another American Horror Stories series and pointed to the viewer response to Hayden as a possible reason. The character still tends to attract a large amount of hate and is a regular entry on lists of the most hated American Horror Story characters. Season 1 does show Hayden to be spiteful and petty, especially when she becomes a ghost, but her motives are much more sympathetic than some fans acknowledge. The relationship between American Horror Stories Hayden and Ben was never balanced, as he was much older and was also her teacher. While she was clearly in love with him, she likely would have severed contact as he wished had she not learned she was pregnant. All she asked for was his support while seeking an abortion, but once Dylan McDermott's Ben abandoned once again, Hayden made it clear she won't be just cast aside. Her story seems to comment on the strange dynamic of the unhinged mistress of married men in movies or TV, like Glenn Close's character in Fatal Attraction being considered the villain, while the man is treated with more sympathy. Hayden's actions were far from perfect, but a refusal to let herself or her child be cast aside doesn't make her a monster either. It also makes her later actions as a spirit somewhat understandable.